Hey guys, it's Kat, and I was curious about the Indulge Festival in St. Andrews, and I got tickets to the Taste of St. Andrews, located downtown where they block it off, and my husband Chris went with me, and this is just a fun night, guys. There's all kinds of food to try, and it's a fundraiser for the food bank. Started with some of these electric gummy bears that were soaked in raspberry vodka. They were actually delicious, but woo, there was a punch to those gummy bears. We continued to walk downtown, and we're making our way to the Spice Box, which was featuring Chef Kyle Stewart of the Rhubarb, and this was one of our best bites of the night, and we started off strong. My husband Chris tried some of the cold smoked salmon as well. I'm not really a big salmon fan, but he said it was delicious. But we moved on to Kyle's little pulled beef tacos. Off the hook, so good. They just were full of all kinds of flavor and textures with a crispy fried jalapeno on top and a delicious sauce. They were great. We continued on next door to Cottage Cheek, where we got to try these multiple meatballs on creamy polenta, and it had gooey cheese, and they had delicious wine pairings with it too. These were also a 10 out of 10 perfection, and there were some cool guys there. We were thirsty, so we tried some Yip cider, and I got to try the cranberry hard apple cider. That was great. And outside we could smell the pizza coming from Stoked Artisan wood-fired pizza. We decided on the fall offering, which was squash and goat's cheese and bacon. It was just off the hook awesome. We continued and tried some sushi into Warm and Coasty, and they had these little soy sauce shooters on top. Chris loved it. I loved it. It was really fun and interactive. Definitely a delicious bite. We continued on downtown where things were starting to get really bumping, especially in Town Square. We went under the big tent where there were a ton of chefs in here. Honestly, it was kind of overwhelming, and it was a little dark. This video shows it being lighter, but Chris tried some chicken frico, and we got to watch some chefs, I believe from the community college, were making these bulgogi beef bites, and there was really a good serving size, and there was also some lobster chowder, and they were putting all of the toppings on top. It's really fun watching the chefs work, but guys, this was another 10 out of 10 bite. There's so much food when you come to Indulge, and there's no limit. So yes, the tickets are $130 a piece, but you can eat and drink as much as you want, including these delicious raspberry profiteroles. There were like these little crunchy things in the bottom and some type of passion fruit coulis in the bottom. I could have had 100 of them. We moved on to the Seasons by the Sea Bistro, where we got to have these cool little shooters of either haddock chowder or lobster chowder, and I went with the lobster. I took it right back, and also got my favorite drink in the whole world, which is a Dave Matthews created by a chef in Fredericton, and it is just fruity and fun and delicious. Then we went into Salt Bite, which is a really cool new restaurant in St. Andrews Waterfront series, and you can see what was here. My husband Chris tried it. He said again, it was a 10. There is just so much high quality good food here. We moved on down to Drew Haven, where they had live music, and my husband got to try some seafood chowder. He was definitely a fan of this one. It was thicker than some of the other offerings, like a traditional New England chowder almost. And then we went upstairs and got to see lots of chef interactive demos that you got to try. This was kind of like Oktoberfest on a piece of bread, and had a red wine reduction. My husband loved that. We're not oyster fans, but lots of people are, and they were shucking them as fast as people could eat them. This was a little phyllo dough with artichoke puree piped in it, and Chris was definitely a fan of that as well. I was getting full, so he had to eat a lot of my bites, and there's some places do just drinks, and that's fun too. So we made our way to Kennedy, and they always have a good offering, and we had some friends giving us some peace signs in here, but they had really cool deviled eggs that were infused with lobster bisque and had huge chunks of lobster on top. I had to eat the lobster first. 10 out of 10, then had to go in with the egg and the puree. The sun was starting to set. It was starting to get nice and dark and fun, and the music was really popping, and we decided to try next this Indian food truck that had this delicious chicken dish. Chris said this was his favorite bite of the night, and it's up there for me too. It's so hard when you're hitting a lot of 10s to decide who's putting out the best. We decided to try Salty Fisher and tried their classic chowder with bruschetta, and it was just so delicious. And then we went down to Char and Chowder. The line was long in here, but they were putting out some good food too. Some more artisan pizza with fall flavors and some bruschetta. Chris loved the sausage and the creamy sauce on this one. They just really complemented each other really well, but it also had squash on it too. And it was getting darker. People were definitely enjoying their beverages a bit more. The music was going. This was McGuire's hand-rolled truffles that were also delicious. They were pumpkin spice, but they were so spicy, but in a good way. And speaking of chocolate, we had to hit Ganong's at the Leather House. They had 2 new offerings. And then while we were walking by William and Water, this lineup was so long we didn't even get one, but they were doing ceviche and the dancing was starting. It was just such a fun night. We would pop into some stores just to see what they had, but we were making our way out, so we didn't always go if the lines were long. But I did not miss these Korean milk donuts by Buttercream Dreams all the way from Fredericton. This was in My Space Gift Shop, which is an awesome store. I just was obsessed with these, and we just had fun seeing everybody else have so much fun. But then it was time to go home, and we said goodbye until next year, and that's all for now. Bye.